Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guests today are both from the Thunder Bay and District Injured Workers Support Group, President Greg Snider and the trustee Eugene Lefrancois. Welcome, you guys.
Thanks
Good
for
to be
having
here.
me.
So, the focus today is your platform for change about recommendations for the workers' compensation system. But before we get into that, I'd like to hear a little bit first about the Thunder Bay Injured Workers. Tell us, what is it you guys do and how long you've been around for? Greg.
Okay, looking at each other. Well, we've been around for quite a few years. Steve, you were one of the founding people, so you probably know better than that how long.
Well, I have to share with these guys are guys I work with on a regular basis, and we're all members of the Thunder Bay Injured
Yeah.
Workers Support Group.
Yeah, so we support injured workers by peer support system. We've also do some education about how the program works and how to fight for your rights under the program. And we do public meetings where we invite the general public to learn about stuff that's going on. And of course, the Platform for Change is a big piece of what we do, is lobbying for change. We've met with numerous people in government and WSIB trying to affect change in the program.
Great. And now, so both of you guys had kind of a political involvement before you got involved with injured workers. Eugene, you were involved with kind of Métis affairs. Tell us a little bit about your background before you got hurt.
Well, I belonged to the Ontario Métis and Aboriginal Association back in the early 80s. Actually, one of my jobs was to help write the laws that govern the Métis in the Constitution.
Nice.
Working with comp though is a totally different world. I mean, I change law. That's what I like to do. It seems the WSIB doesn't want to change the law. They can't change law, so they'll change policy. I mean, that's totally unheard of. But so my job with the Métis was to organize. I came to the Thunder Bay and District Injured Workers Group. In 1985, I was injured. I came to the Thunder Bay, the group, in '89. I've been there ever since because I liked what was going on. I liked the attitude and all the workers who were there, all volunteers. And it was to change the law, something I really believe that has to be done. And that's why we have the Platform for Change today. Is one of the reasons is we have to change the law because it's a broken system.
So, just if I got you right, what I heard was that actually when you were with the Métis Association, there was some success at actually changing some of the legislation and the laws, where it's been more of a struggle with workers' compensation.
We got into the Constitution. The Métis are in the Constitution. That was unheard of before 1982.
Wow.
Unheard of. We're in there, and that was because of, I'm not going to say I did anything to that, but I think I helped. I was the one drop of oil in this great big giant machine.
Well, and we're all just those drops, aren't we? And Greg, so you've got a background in disability rights, if I've got that right. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was through the union really where I got involved. They had a disability rights group that were meeting at convention on a regular basis. And I became president of my local and got involved in that disabilities working group and was a founding member of our Disability Rights Caucus in OPSU. And we did a lot of lobbying around accessibility for the union and reaching out to the community on behalf of the union and bringing that story back to the union was also part of our job. And I also was involved with the Provincial Human Rights Committee. The interesting thing on, I think, the gains that we made there was we really started, we spent most of our time getting OPSU to be more accessible. And as in the past few years, we've been most of our time is talking with the community and liaisoning with the community in OPSU.
Now,
and working against those
OPSU
projects.
is the
Ontario Public Service Employees Union.
And it's a big union, eh? How many members are in OPSU?
Oh, you're going to ask me that. I think it's 40,000 or somewhere in there.
So you were trying to get an organization with 40,000 members to refocus a little bit so that people with disabilities, their own members,
Yeah,
were able to access all the programs and services they had.
that's correct. And it's at first, we had a receptive audience in OPSU. There were people there that wanted to see the change, but they still struggle with that whole idea of, I have to sacrifice some of these things. We have to change what's always been there in order to make it work, and stereotypes that existed prior to that. And we slowly broke those barriers down, and a lot of work on just getting past those stereotypes.
And so what did you feel that you brought with you from that previous experience into your work with the Thunder Bay Injured Workers?
I think the big one for me was understanding that, I'm entitled to certain rights, and I'm entitled to full participation in events. I recall a story where we had a person who was in a wheelchair temporarily for a convention, and at that same convention there was somebody who lived in a wheelchair, and they had to, because some elevator was under construction, they had to go through a hallway where they were keeping their garbage. And the person who lived in a wheelchair for his whole life didn't complain to us. It was the person who had that temporary injury that said, why am I going by garbage? Why is this happening? Because there was an expectation among the able-bodied people for a certain amount of service that doesn't exist within the disabilities community. And that was a big piece of education that we had to do. And it was a big learning piece. And I think that is very prominent in the disabilities community, that people are more accepting of getting less than what they're actually entitled to.
Right. And from your experience, Eugene, with the Métis, did you find any of that same kind of exclusion from the mainstream that you were challenging, or?
Well, the Métis, just being who they are, they're totally excluded from. We were excluded from the provincial politics, the government, and we were also excluded from the federal government. So we were the political exclusion football. We were passed around like handoffs in the game, and it put us in a place where we had nothing. So if you have nothing to start off with, all you can do is look for the good times.
So both of you have this background that you, through changes in life, brought you to the Thunder Bay Injured Workers, where you were both addressing the issue of exclusion and kind of discrimination. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break, and we're going to get into our platform for change. Thank you.